In what has to be the least surprising story of the season, Marco Silva has finally been relieved of his duties or sacked as Everton manager. It seems like it's been on the cards for absolute months. There's been no word from the club as to why we've kept hold of him. There's been no backing from the club. Everyone, after he didn't get sacked against Norwich, it was clear he was going to get these 2 games. God knows why, whether the club have just been too afraid to make a decision on bringing a manager in for the 2 crunch games against Leicester and Liverpool, whether the club have written off those 2 games and thought, well, no manager in the right mind's going to come in and take charge, where we could, in 2 games where we could theoretically get leathered, and in one of them we pretty much did. Either way, it shows an absolute lack of leadership at the top of the club, or that's what it suggests anyway. No one knows who's making the decisions. There's been talk of all kinds of managers coming in, with David Moyes appearing to be the top choice. That choice of manager can only come from one person. Why that person is still making decisions at the club is beyond me. It's conjecture, he might not be, but you can only draw conclusions from this, because it's just an absolute mess again. And if you can rely on Everton for one thing, it's to make a balls up of everything, really. Even getting rid of a manager when he's doing really badly, he can't even do that right anymore. We used to be pretty efficient at that, to be honest, but not anymore, it seems. So no one seems to know what's coming next. Hopefully it won't be the ginger fog that is David Moyes, but you never know, it probably will be. I got the thoughts of Matt Jones and Dave Downie on the Everton manager debacle. Here's what they have to say.
Everton sacked another manager. Marco Silva has been given his marching orders today in the wake of that 5-2 loss to Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. No cause for elation from my point of view. It's never a happy time when anyone loses their job, and certainly not someone who invested a lot of time and a lot of effort into this football club. Felt like Silva was really invested in the project. And even towards the end, had the players on side. Unfortunately, the entire thing is broken and a change was inevitable. Looking back at Silva's tenure, I like the style of football he tried to play initially. I like the high intensity. I like the fact that he was brave going to some of these bigger sides. We played well at some of those bigger sides earlier in his tenure. And towards the back end of last season, we had some great days. The 2-0 win against Chelsea, the 1-0 win against Arsenal. It's probably the best performance of the season. Then the 4-0 shellacking of Manchester United. There were foundations from which I thought Everton were going to build from under this manager. But since the summer, it has obviously all gone badly wrong. I think he was let down by the recruitment done in regards to the club, certainly at centre-back. The 3 midfielders that Everton signed permanently are injured, which is certainly not ideal. But you've got to look at Marco Silva as well and say he's got himself to blame. He's certainly got himself to blame for the fact that he has lost his job today. His in-game management at times was appalling. He seems to have issues motivating the players mid-game, as is evidenced by the fact that Everton only attained 5 points from 28 losing positions in his tenure. And this just felt inevitable. It felt inevitable, and it feels as though a fresh voice is absolutely imperative if this team is going to push themselves out to the bottom 3. Looks like it's going to be David Moyes next, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot here on the Blue Room. But Marco Silva has lost his job. No cause for celebration, and Everton have got a lot of work to do to get themselves out of this mess with the new man in charge.
So Marco Silva's tenure finally comes to a close at Everton. It's come as no surprise, or maybe it has, given how long we've waited for this to happen. It's no joyous occasion though, I feel, because of what's been and gone so far this season. It feels as if he's been left hanging out to dry a little bit in the last few weeks. It could have been a decision made much earlier, in my opinion. I'm not too sure what the board, Marcel Brands, Farhad Moshiri, Bill Kenwright are thinking, not making this act happen a little bit earlier, because it was plain for most of us to see that going into Leicester, which were a little bit unfortunate, and more so the Merseyside derby, that this just simply wasn't working and there was no way back. Even with the benefit of hindsight, obviously it looks a lot more damning, but I think many people foreseen these circumstances coming and felt that the football club should have acted much earlier than what they have. What's next? Looks like it's back to the future, isn't it, with David Moyes? Don't really feel too confident about that. I feel the club should be in a better position, but you ultimately end up a victim of the circumstances you find yourself in, and that's where we are right now. Going back to somebody who's in charge of the club, 17 years ago now when he first came. I'm not too sure what follows, but I feel more cautious than I do optimistic about what's to come for the rest of this season and beyond.
So there you go, there's the thoughts of Matt and Dave there. No one really seems to know why it's taken so long to sack the manager. No one seems to know what's coming next. Probably the most surprising thing about the whole saga is the fact that other managers have been sacked before him. Don't know where this leaves us at all. I have no idea who we should or can get in as manager. It's an absolute mess with this fixture list in December coming up as well. The last thing we need is just a caretaker manager, you know, Duncan Ferguson or David Unsworth, just taking charge of a team who's completely demotivated on its arse. We could be bottom by New Year. And when New Year comes around, we've got Man City away. And we're back at Anfield for the FA Cup game, so it's not going to get any easier for us. Really don't know where we go from here. Who would you have in as manager? Let us know in the comments. Would you have an interim just to see us through the 6 months? Some chance like Sam Allardyce, who'll come in for 6 months but take an 18-month contract because he can. Would you have an appointment who comes in now and tries to get the best out of the players now with a view to taking this team on this season and beyond, a bit like the way Joe Roll did back in 1994? What are the options? Who's available? Any ideas? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this will get sorted out and Everton will stop being dead shit at everything sometime soon. Up the Toffees.